Hello students, welcome back to Prison Architect 101. Here we are, episode 2, or classroom 2, or tutorial 2, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to go into the planning mode of the prison and what we're going to do to get things set up and ready to go to accept prisoners. Now I'm going to be a bit backwards in this episode where we explain from the right to the left of what things do in this bottom left hand corner. First and foremost, you'll spend most of your time in planning in your prison to get things set up. This is the most important stage, since once prisoners start arriving in your prison, building things and rearranging external walls becomes very difficult as they can escape. So do as much planning as you possibly can before you accept them in. This will save your ass down the track when you're having a large-scale riot because you didn't build a big enough canteen or something. So really think ahead of how big and how much of your prison you think you're going to use. Obviously, as you build, you change your mind of how you want things to do, and you just work around that. So, if you're planning to extend out, at the back here or up or whatever, just bear in mind that you may need to build a pathway to support that extra area. So, always be prepared for a change and rearrangement, but don't try and block yourself in a corner. It becomes very difficult when you're trying to expand out a large cell block and you have, 100 prisoners here. You open that fence, they just bolt out. So be prepared for those kind of things. I can't tell you how to prepare for them. It's all in your design of the prison. Now what I've done here, in the planning mode, we have the three categories we spoke about last episode: the walls, objects, and pathways. All very self-explanatory. What I like to do first is build a large perimeter fence around the prison. This acts as a safety net for any kind of escapes. Now how to do that is in your materials option, second from the left, you have a load of wall types, floor types, remove tunnels, things like that. These all differ on how you're designing your prison. The fences are the cheapest and easiest wall to build as a quick interim fence. If you're using continuous intake, a fence is the best option for it, to just build it up and have it there as a safety net. You can build perimeter walls. They are very expensive, but they also reduce the chances of tunneling underneath the fences, which tunneling I'll get into later on. But speaking of tunnels, I haven't built this fence close to the edge. I built one off. Reason being is, if your prisoners are tunneling out, they will tunnel and the tunnel will appear in this section here. You can't remove or build anything in that area without editing the save file. So I always build it one off. So this zone here we can build in, and if we do have a tunnel escape underneath the prison, we can remove it to reduce further escapes. That's just more of a pointer rather than a tip. Well, they're kind of the same thing, pointer and a tip, what do you want to call them? If we just finish this fence off, left click and hold and drag across to build the fence up, your workers will then go grab materials from deliveries that are brought in by the trucks and go and build the fence. Now, I'm a very fond believer of building a one-way in, one-way out system. It just reduces the risk of escapes. You'll have this area heavily guarded, so prisoners are deterred from trying to leave the prison or launching a full-scale attack or riot to get out. Now, this is only one locking system. Sometimes I build the prison up so, into planning mode real quick, would have the standard entrance and then like a 10 long or something corridor that acts as, again, a safety zone for prisoners. But in this area here, you'd also want to put in countermeasures to reduce contraband coming into the prison, which when we go into the objects menu, we will find metal detectors. Pretty self-explanatory. They detect metal. It's not a 100% chance of detecting any contraband they have on them. It's more of a deterrent for them. They'll pick up spoons and cutlery and things like that from the canteen, but those metal detectors are your first line of defense for people bringing in shivs and people bringing drills and all kinds of really weird things in there. There's several ways to reduce contraband. There's the shakedown method, metal detectors, the dogs. All this stuff I'll go into further details. I don't worry about taking notes just yet, but they're just some pointers that you'll be looking at later on, which you'll have to plan out for. Now with this kind of airlocky system, so to say, you want to have doors to protect your prisoners and guards and whatnot. In the very beginning, when you're first starting out, jail door is your best option. Later on the track, you'll upgrade to solitary or remote doors, depending on which way you build the prison. They will be explained on the track. The solitary doors are just harder to break down, and the remote doors are the solitary door, but guards can't open them. They have to be opened via remote systems, which, again, I will teach you about down the track. So for the moment, we'll just build jail doors. So left click on the jail door. You can use middle mouse button or the letter R to rotate it, and then just left click where to build it. Simple, simple, simple. While we're in that menu though, actually, I'll put that fence up real quick. In the objects menu, there's also the road gate. That is a very expensive early game purchase. I believe 2 of them are well worth it. One at the top of the deliveries and one at the garbage section. That just acts as an additional safety net for your prison. Obviously, it has to be set up in a sort of airlock system. You can't just have road gates and nothing at the side. So again, just a fence around the back. Pretty easy, pretty cool. Now we go back into the planning menu. Open up the walls tab. This is where we start planning the prison out. First thing you'd look at building is the staff rooms, offices, things to keep your staff happy. Now bear in mind that the staff can be risks in the prison. They can be targeted by prisoners to get robbed, get killed, steal their phones, contraband, steal weapons, steal keys to escape. They're a liability if they're in the prison. So it's best to keep them away from the general public of the prison. I like to keep them within this first buffer zone of the prison. So generally you would have like an office block just outside or just in the first zone of the prison. Now the offices have to be a minimum of 5x5. No, sorry, 4x4. I lie, 4x4. So a 6x6 zone will do that for you. I'll go into more detail of what each of these rooms do, so don't stress about them just yet. That's just an example of one room requirement. It has to have certain things in it for it to function. But I like to build it, as I said, in the first confines of that little barrier system there. Now that can be designed of how you see fit. I'll just build them up real quick, just in a standard kind of 6x6 zoning. I like to have things symmetrical. You don't have to follow these. These are just my personal preference and things. With the planning as well, if you right click on an item you don't like or don't want to place there, that will remove that planning object. Then we just seal it in like so. Now, for when you start out, you'll require a minimum of 5 officers. One for the warden, who's your general day-to-day prison, well, he's the warden. He unlocks Bureaucracy, which allows you to unlock even further items in the menu. If we just hire him straight away, $1,000 to purchase him outright, but he also has an ongoing daily cost, which is at $200 per day. These workmen, exactly the same thing. Wherever they are, they buggered off. There they are. They are charged at $100 per day with the $500 one-off payment. Nothing in this game is free, and the money management side of things becomes very difficult down the track, so be very careful of this number and making sure it stays in the green, but we'll go into further detail as we progress through this. So what this warden does, he unlocks prison grading and bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is what you use to unlock the next parts of your prison. Generally, when you first start out, finance is your best option to go for in the very beginning. She allows you to hire more people than what your daily income provides. At the moment, we can only hire a maximum number of people so long as they fit within the daily cash flow. If we just hire all these workmen, I cannot buy any more because they've reached the maximum amount per daily cash flow. Once we have the finance lady, she'll allow us to unlock more and go into the negative. So at the very moment, it's a very good safety net to leave finance to just about ready to be open in the prison, so you always have that positive cash flow. It isn't very much. It's something like $7 or something every hour, but $2, not even $7. It's $2 per hour. So that's something that it won't make you go bankrupt. Only you can make yourself go bankrupt with this prison. So yeah, as I said, you need at least a minimum of 5 officers. Now with the staff, you have the warden, again, looks after bureaucracy, prison grading and whatnot. The prison grading you can't unlock until you have 10 prisoners being released, so don't even worry about that just yet. The chief, he unlocks the next part of the security in the prison. So if we go back to bureaucracy, the chief unlocks surveillance, deployment, contraband, patrols, dogs, remote access, armory, tasers, taser rollout, body armor. I won't go into detail of what these are just yet, as we'll go through them in more detail when we get to them, when we need them. So don't worry about those just yet. While I'm here though, psychology, he is probably the second person you want to go for to get your prison up and running. He will show you your needs of the prisoners, current security level, the important things when you're first accepting prisoners in. He is your test bed to seeing what prisoners need, what they're lacking. He will help you with your prison to flourish. So he'll be the second person you want to get into the prison as soon as possible. He has no kind of external things to unlock. So once he's unlocked, he's done. That's it. Buy him, forget him, that's all. Health and education we'll get to later on the track. Maintenance is probably the third person you want to get. He unlocks the cloning tool, which is super useful when you're building large cell blocks. Groundskeeping, which looks after all your outdoor needs, so pathways that get messy. Well, that's pretty much it actually. They just look after the outside things. Cleaning, same thing as the groundskeeper, just indoors. They mop up dirty floors. They also deliver laundry to prisoners if you have no prison workforce. They also do kind of housekeeping, things like that. But I'll go into more detail as we unlock them. And prison labor. This is what you unlock to let your prisoners work in the prison. I won't go into detail as to what they can work in yet, but essentially that's what you need for your prisoners to start working in the prison. And last but not least, micromanagement. This is a very end-game item that you'd want to get. It can be useful early on if you're planning on bringing in multiple security groups in one hit, but if you're bringing in just the minimum, medium, or just one max-sec prisoner, you won't need to worry about it just yet. It's more when you have about 200 or more prisoners and you want to build certain zones for certain prisoners and certain time zones when guards are patrolling and whatnot. That's when you need that. In the very beginning, leave it to the last minute. It's not required when you first start out. Prison policy, it's useful, but it's not useful in the very beginning. It allows you to choose punishment types and nutritional information when you build the canteen up. Again, your first lot of prisoners won't really care about that because they're so low and they don't really care too much about it. So it'll be on the back of my mind, but don't worry about getting it straight away. Probably after you unlock finance, psychology, maintenance, then do prison policy, then the guard. But this is all, depending on the prison you're building, you'll build it in different orders, unlock in different orders. So I'll just unlock finance. You can unlock multiple at a time. So if I want to do finance as well as psychology and maintenance, they will just go in that order and so on. So that will just be like a fire and forget, click, 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 and we're done. But what's most important with the warden is he requires an office. Actually, with all the staff, they require an office to do their research. So what we have to do is go into the foundations menu and choose what kind of outside bricks you want to use, concrete or brick. There's no difference between the two of them, it's just aesthetics. They cost the same, do the same job, there's no kind of, concrete isn't stronger than just standard brick, it's just how you want to build the prison. It doesn't matter. I personally prefer concrete, so I'll be using concrete for this tutorial. So just again, left click to start, then just drag it down to the zone. So we've already planned this out, so we'll just left click to release, and a big red requires entrance pops up. That's pretty obvious of what it needs. So we go back into the objects tab and choose the type of door we want to use. Given it's going to be an office, a staff door is the most obvious choice, or a door. Staff door is essentially locked out to prisoners and non-staff of the area, so like visitors and things like that. But a door is unlocked to everybody. It is a lot cheaper, but a staff door is what you really want in this case. So again, just click on staff door, middle mouse button or letter R to rotate, and then just place it on the edge of your building. I've found that if you build it in a corner, it won't register as an entrance. It will say it will disappear, but it won't pick it up to be built. So building it just one off the edge is the best place for it. And then we'll just wait for the worker to go out there and build it. So back to triple speed. Wait for him to build it up. There you go. Now, since we've built this fence already, one thing, before we go any further, these are annoying me. One of the rooms you can get is a storage room. This will store any kind of loose material or overflow of deliveries or any kind of items you dismantle. It doesn't matter where you build it because you move around a lot. I generally build it on the outskirts of the prison just because this acts as a contraband supplier, so you want your prisoners to stay away from this. But again, you move it around a lot. It doesn't stay in one place. It just constantly moves. So I generally build it on the outside just to begin with, but that can be anywhere you like. Cool. Now what the worker has done here, he's built a light. That is stock standard when you build foundations up. They build it in a kind of 3x3 or 4x4 kind of square section they build in. So there'll be a light here, a light about here, one here, then one about here somewhere. You can, when they finish build the foundation, you can right click and mouse over the zone. That will cancel the build. But in this case, we want to keep the light. Now you probably noticed that the fence didn't auto build to a concrete wall. That's because we built that manually before we built the foundation. So we have to go back into materials and build that concrete wall ourselves. They'll just build over that. No need to demolish walls or anything. Just click on it, drag over it. Sweet as we're done. Next step is the rooms tab. We're back in here and we're going to choose the office to build for our warden. Again, like the building, click on office and just drag it over the zone you want to build it in. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Now the room will be a big red exclamation mark because it's missing certain things. We have to build an office desk, a chair, and a filing cabinet. Now it's already past minimum size and past indoors. They're pretty self-explanatory. No need to explain those. So if we go back into our objects tab, a good thing with this is it will highlight the items that you need in the office. So staff door, it's already there, don't need to worry about it. We need a chair for our warden, so we'll just put that chair there. Again, just click, left click to place. And the office desk. This can be rotated, put it wherever you like, doesn't really matter. So long as it is in the room. You can essentially stack them all up in a corner. It won't matter. They don't use the objects. This is more for aesthetics in the office. I like to build it in front of the chair because it looks nicer and doesn't look as shitty. And last but not least, the filing cabinet. We'll just build that, say, here in this corner so he can access it from his chair. And then we just wait for the workers to bring the things in and into the office, really. So here we go. Office desk, filing cabinet. And there we go. Build it up. Automatically, it gets assigned to the warden because he's the only staff member. If we had any other staff, the officers are selected in order of the staff hired. So if you had the finance and warden hired at the same time, obviously hire the warden first. The warden gets the office first. Simple as that. You can manually pick and choose where they go by just de-rooming it, by going to the rooms tab, right-clicking over it, and then letting someone else take it over. Or just leave it as is. Doesn't really matter so much of how it is. So here we go into the researching mode, and he will unlock certain things for us in Bureaucracy. So he's unlocking maintenance first because we have the room built up. We want to stop that and build finance. So if you want to essentially prioritize what builds first, just click on it to pause it, click on it again to unpause it. Now, what we did before, finance, psychology, and maintenance, that will only work if the room is already built. It won't work like what we did here. It will be built in the opposite, essentially. But yeah, here we'll go through and research that for us so we can get more staff in here to build things up. Now, this little flashing light I'll talk about in the next episode, but until then, I will see you all later.